This is the first video of Intro to Rhino. Rhino is a great software for 3D modeling. It has a lot of commonalities with AutoCAD, so if you have some experience with AutoCAD, it shouldn't feel too unfamiliar. Ultimately, though, Rhino is more flexible, more open, and extends to way more capabilities. When you open the software for the first time, it'll look something about like this. This is, to be clear, the version Rhino 8 that I'm recording in, and it is the educational version. However, the educational version has no differences from the professional version. Most everything covered here will also be applicable to the Windows version of Rhino 7 as well. In general, Rhino is a very user-friendly software to work with. And an example of that, if we come over to the right of the screen, we have this panel. This is the help panel, indicated by the blue question mark. And the initial page that it's set to when you open it is Welcome to Rhino. Here you have links to shortcuts. Here you have information about the basics, some tutorials on the Rhino website or PDF guides. Lots of great information. If we click on Tour the Rhino window, it opens the webpage for that topic, and we get a little bit that explains how the interface is set up. One significant thing about the Rhino interface is that you have both button commands in these toolbars, and you have a command line interface where you can type. So for example, if we go to this kind of cube-shaped icon and click it, already in the command line, we can see that the box command has been entered, right? So they're completely synced. Additionally, the command line gives us kind of a feedback or instructions on what it wants us to do. The next thing to do in order to make this box is to put in the first corner of the base. And now you can see the next input is the other corner. I just did this one by clicking on the screen, but I can also just begin typing here. Say I put 0, 0, 0, that's going to go to the origin, intersection of the X and Y axes. And now it's asking the third part of the command, which is the height. And again, I can either do this visually in the screen, or I can give it a text input in the command line, say 100. These are totally fluid. You don't have to switch back and forth. Most Rhino users will, as a result, keep one hand on the mouse and one hand on the keyboard and input whichever feels most intuitive for that command. We'll also notice that the help panel has updated itself and is now giving us the help information for the box command. Here we have, for example, what toolbars it's found within. It gives us the steps and directions in case we didn't understand how to make it. And there's another section here about command line options. Let's just go back and click the box command again. And when it says command line options, diagonal, 3-point, vertical, center, these are also here in the command line, right? Diagonal, 3-point, vertical, and center. These are alternative ways of drawing a cube, and a good example is just to pick center. We can either type C, which is the underlined letter, or click on center. And now, instead of asking for a corner, ask for the center of the base, and you can see that the rectangle is drawn around that center point. Not only that, but we have a second set of options. We could change this from not other corner, but a 3-point command. 3-point lets us pick an orientation. So if it's not orthogonal to the other box, right? But somehow on a diagonal. And then we have the width, and then we have the height. It's a very flexible way of working. Even though this command is the corner to corner to height option for box, we can switch it in mid-command. This might seem like a slightly overwhelming amount of options for a beginner, but it's not actually essential to know every single possible command and variation and how they work. First of all, you can refer to the help information and reference that as you're going along. And secondly, it's more important actually to know or be aware that there are alternative options in the first place, and to be aware of where to look for them in case they might offer a better fit for the way that you want to model. So we don't need to have memorized what each of these 5 versions does or how it works, but knowing that these options are there is super useful. Another thing to be aware of is how to find other commands. The buttons and menus that are visible here are not the full list of commands. For example, if instead of modeling a box, we want to add a cone. One way to find these commands is simply just start typing in the command line. And you can see already there is an autocomplete, a recommendation, and there is in fact a cone command. And we can see that this works very similarly. We ask for the base, then we're asked for the radius, and then we're asked for the height. Other places where you can look for additional commands includes in the toolbars. Anytime you see a black triangle in the bottom right corner of a button, it means that there is a pop-out or cascading submenu. Click on that triangle, and this secondary menu appears with other related commands: cones, cylinders, truncated cones, pyramids, ellipsoids, and other geometric primitives. Looking closely, it is apparent that this feature, for commands in the main toolbar to have cascading submenus, is quite common. A second place to look for additional commands is in the top bar, here, the ribbon with multiple tabs. Each of these tabs has a collection of commands around specific themes. If we select one, such as Solid Tools, it changes the command's visible main toolbar, and what we have is a set of commands very similar to the pop-up menu we just saw, but which stays in place and doesn't hide afterward. It also provides a set of other commands in the ribbon that we didn't see before and which are primarily focused on editing the solids. This is great because it groups commands that you might be using together or in sequence and displays them all in a glance.